Moving on, Spider-Man is one of the blockbusters of the summer. Another Spider-Man is starring his very own drama. Julián Alvarez, still a Atlético de Madrid player after making extremely public his wish of making a move to Barcelona. Alvarez and Simeone already had a tough talk where Simeone told his player that the board have made their decision very clear. He's not for sale, especially not for Barcelona. So at this point, Rodri, with what we know and still one pending conversation between Gilmarín and Julián Alvarez, is there a way in which Julián Alvarez could still land in Barcelona?
To be honest, according to my Atlético Madrid sources, they say no, no, and no. They don't want to sell Julián Alvarez, first of all, because they invested a lot of money on Julián Alvarez, and secondly, because they don't really see any proper replacement on the transfer market. And thirdly, because they understand that Barcelona didn't do the best job on these signings. So they consider that there was a lack of respect from Barcelona to Atlético Madrid. They want to show the world that Atlético Madrid has changed, and now with the new investment fund that just came in from United States, Apollo, and they want to show the new investors that they are a big team in Europe, so that's why they're not going to sell Julián Alvarez. This is what Atlético Madrid sources are telling me even this morning. But when you talk to Julián Alvarez and Torres, they say to you, yes, this is the actual situation, but they do believe that there's going to be a final light at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the transfer market, that could be a little option for Julián Alvarez to leave Atlético Madrid. They find it really difficult and almost impossible, but they think this is going to be a last chance for Julián Alvarez to join Barcelona.
It's been said when we have sagas like this, as a club, you don't want to have a player that could not see his dream fulfilled. Julián Alvarez said his dream was to play for Barcelona. Some might say you don't want a player like that in your roster to start the season or even to play a full season. But as we've said from Rodri's sources, other ESPN insider sources, Julián Alvarez had a conversation with his teammates. Is this a fixable situation between Julián Alvarez? If you were his teammate and you would be inside that dressing room, how do you think teammates would handle something like this? How hard is it?
I don't think players are at all bothered by this. The business is, on the one hand, very cutthroat. You understand that. And all you care about is results. Julián Alvarez scores a couple of goals. Even the fans kind of re-warm to him. That's a difficult ask, I know. But from a player's perspective, you understand that there's always a lot going on behind the scenes, whether it's transfer speculation, whether you want out and you aren't able to get out, as we're having with Julián Alvarez. All that is just a part of the business, and I don't think anybody is bothered by it at all.
What's your best guess? What's going to happen? Because Atlético de Madrid have been very clear, as you said, we're not going to sell Julián Alvarez to Barcelona, but they are very specific, not to Barcelona. Is there a chance that he would be on the move to a different club? Or do you see like the best chance right now is that he stays at Atlético de Madrid?
I think he's going to stay, first of all, because he wants to fulfill in some future time, Julián Alvarez, he wants to fulfill his dream for play for Barcelona. So that is why he's going to stay, because if he signs for, imagine, Arsenal or PSG, he's going to have that closed door. And I think that if he stays one more season in Atlético de Madrid, doesn't really matter if he plays well, if he succeeds, or if he fails. At the end of the next season, he's going to have the chance again to join Barcelona. So if he goes to Premier League or PSG or whoever team, I think it's going to be much more difficult, and those doors are going to be closed for sure.
Yeah, this is not easy because he still has 4 years left on his current deal with Atlético de Madrid. Johnny Cardoso, he is back after recovering from ankle surgery. He missed the World Cup because of that injury. He missed game time 3 times last season due to injuries. He played 30 games in all comps. Shaq, can he make his way back into becoming a regular starter at Atlético de Madrid?
I'm not so sure. I'll be honest. 12 starts last season, something of this sort. They've spent money this summer. Morta and Lee both coming in for sizable sums for Atletico Madrid. I just feel that knocks Johnny Cardoso down the pecking order even more. Second season in, and maybe one of those two players between Morton and Lee Kang-in don't settle as well as he would hope. But right now, all things being equal, I just do not see Cardoso even matching that 12 starts of last season.
When he was fit, he was playing.
Yeah.
He saw really important game time. What was the feeling inside Atlético de Madrid regarding Johnny Cardoso? Was Cholo Simeone happy with him? Were they satisfied with what they saw from Johnny Cardoso on the field?
He was delighted by Johnny Cardoso. Simeone is in love with Johnny Cardoso, and I'm sure that this season is going to make that step ahead in order to be a proper Atlético de Madrid starter. I'm sure. Because last season, he was very irregular, the performances, because of those injuries that he's been through. But this season, I think he's fully convinced that even if he has to sacrifice something else, he's going to bet on Atlético Madrid. He's going to prioritize Atlético Madrid even above United States soccer team. I'm sure about that. And this is something that Simeone really likes, and this is something that Simeone really values, because he was injured and he missed World Cup because he forced with Atlético Madrid. Yeah. And that is something that for Simeone, he wants fighters, and he fought for him. And that is something that is in Simeone's mind.
Yeah, there's two things that are very important for Diego Pablo Simeone as a manager. One, as Rodri said, if you're a fighter and if you're loyal. And the effort that Johnny Cardoso put to try to stay on the field when Atlético de Madrid was still competing to stay alive in the Champions League, trying to make a late run in La Liga. They made the Copa del Rey final as well. Does that help Johnny Cardoso in terms of perception when there's even a small window that he would see some important game time?
Absolutely, it does help in terms of perception. No question, especially given this manager and this team. My concern is I thought that even when he put together a decent run of games, performances were a little bit inconsistent. And maybe you could look at the injuries as being the reasons for that. But performances started slowly. Even when he settled in, performances were still inconsistent. And then while we aren't talking 145 or whatever it is, Real Madrid played for Diomande, Atletico Madrid brings in two midfielders at a substantial cost for them. You just wonder how that plays out in terms of a hierarchy or a pecking order, maybe is a better term for it.
Now, speaking of Atlético de Madrid's midfield, there's another name that will have to fight to see some game time, and that's Obed Vargas. It is a loaded Atlético de Madrid midfield, as Shaq said. Obed started 4 of the last 5 league games for Atlético last season, played in 3 World Cup games for Mexico. Rodri, how do you see his chances, and is his best shot staying at Atlético de Madrid or maybe trying to find a loan deal that gives him some more flexibility in terms of playing time, even if it's still in La Liga?
I think it's going to be up to Atlético de Madrid's sporting direction, because when we reported last week that he has 3 good options on the table to exit on loan for this season, we remember Betis, Valencia and Getafe. This is not sure that Atlético Madrid lets him out, because, first of all, as Shaka mentioned, they got an overbooking position, that midfield, with 6 people of the same, more or less, profile. So one of them has to be out. And that one, it should be in between Rodrigo Mendoza, he came from Elche, and we're seeing then Coque, Barrios, Cardoso, Obed Vargas, Rodrigo Mendoza. And the thing is in between Rodrigo Mendoza and Obed Vargas. Rodrigo Mendoza's profile, I think, is more attacking, because he's more like the kind of link in between the midfield and the attacking line. And I think Obed Vargas proved last season that he can play quality minutes with Atlético de Madrid. This is a player that Simeone really likes Obed Vargas. Indeed, the importance is not going to be the same for Johnny Cardoso than for Obed Vargas. An exit could be happening in the next week, but it's not 100% sure. But if I were Obed Vargas, I would leave Atlético de Madrid, try to find more minutes, because in Betis, they're going to play Champions League. Valencia, he's going to be a starter 100%. Getafe, he's going to start. But indeed, if you stay in Atletico Madrid, you're going to improve, but you're not going to play those minutes.
And it seems like a win-win situation for Obed because he's still a very young player. It will be really, really hard to make a regular roster spot with Atlético de Madrid, but also for Atlético de Madrid. You invested in this young player. You don't want him. Your success does not depend on Obed Vargas right now. Why not give him the chance to perform with a different club to see more minutes and then become a better player, even if it's playing at Betis, Valencia, or Getafe?
I think that's best for Obed Vargas, that's best for Atletico Madrid, and that's best for whichever club he joins. And I like the list that Roger gives there, because those will be three teams that will be competing, not for first or second, or indeed third at top of La Liga, but will have their eyes set on European football, qualifying for European football. Indeed, Betis playing in Champions League football. At his age, at 21 years old, having significant minutes in meaningful competition is the best thing for Vargas at this point. So as I say, you take the next week or two, whatever's left in the transfer window, and you work on getting him that meaningful move.
Yeah, let's see what happens between now and the end of August when the transfer window closes. Atlético de Madrid plays on Wednesday. The first game, they will host Malaga. Malaga's back in First Division La Liga. Coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. Catch the game in Spanish also on ESPN Deportes.